Hi, Faggy. How are you? Shavua Tov.
We gotta say Nishmas, my father.
Okay, when he comes on, we will tell him. Tonight is actually your time. You need to light a candle.
Oh, yeah.
After the funeral, we do have. How are you?
You have your set for your father?
Yeah, it's
Today.
tonight. It's tonight.
The summer should have an aliyah.
Amen.
We have so many fond memories of him.
Oh, yes, I do too.
He was a big presence. Yeah,
Presents. Right.
yeah.
Yes,
It's only 2 years. It seems so much longer.
much longer. Yeah, I'm sure you feel it when you see your grandkids and wish that they were here to see them.
Yeah, yeah.
We were just with him. It's okay.
No, but I'm saying when you're with them, it makes you think how much pleasure they would have had to be with them.
Nothing. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Oh, Mario, you always have a cold. What is this?
I don't know.
Every time you come on, you have a cold.
Where did you guys leave off last week? Because I wasn't here.
With the beginning of chapter 24.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Bernie.
Okay. Bernie,
Lilu Nishmas, I know.
yeah.
Okay.
Tammy, you didn't go to the learning tonight?
I'm here. I'm doing it here.
Oh, you didn't go this day. Okay.
You said it was for her grandkids.
Nice
Okay.
if you could go with your daughter, your granddaughter's here in town. That's what he's saying.
Where's Ernie?
Sorry, what was the what are we on? Yud? Bernie?
24.
Kaf Daled, beginning of
Kaf Daled.
Kaf Daled.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the very end.
Yeah, it's the end.
Down a little bit. See me.
Hi, baby. Hmm.
Walter, maybe you want to call Ernie and just see if he's.
It was just, we were just on a Dayomi share.
Okay.
Yeah. He probably went to the bathroom.
I don't know.
What of Mario?
Oh, Señor David.
Hi, Shavua Tov. Sorry we're late.
Ernie, could you dedicate this year Le'ilu Nishmasor of Yosef and Shlomo Aryeh? Tonight is his yard site.
Oh my God, tonight, Bo Bayom, wow. Okay, tonight's shir is dedicated to Rav Yosef Brunner, Zichrono Livracha, someone we all knew, big Talmid Chacham in his own right, Rav Yosef and Shlomo Aryeh, correct?
Yes.
And his neshama should have an aliyah, it should be a Melitz Yosher for the whole
Amen.
family and for us as well.
Amen.
Amen.
He used to speak Shalosh Shuddis at Yavna for many years. And this is near Shalosh Shuddis time, so. Okay, last week we finished Perek Chav Gimel. We enunciated the names of the Giborim that David HaMelech had. And now begins the last Perek of Sefer Shmuel Bet. We're not going to finish it tonight. There's a lot going on in this Perek. So Perek Chav Dalet. Vayosef af Hashem lachros b'Yisrael. Hashem had been angry with Klal Yisrael before. So there was, if you remember, during the Battle of Avshalom, 20,000 soldiers were lost. There was a famine for 3 years. Now there's going to be added anger. That's Vayosef. Lachros b'Yisrael. Vayoses es David bahem lemor. To be a mesite means to incite someone to do a sin. And here, David HaMelech himself is going to be used as the vehicle to incite a certain sin, which is going to lead to anger of Klal Yisrael, lead to an anger of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because David, how is David inciting a sin? When he told Yoav, Lech b'nei et Yisrael ve'et Yehuda. I want to conduct a census of the tribes of Israel and the tribe of Judea. Now, at the time where we discussed the anger of Hashem because of the mice of the Givonim, that Shaul had killed out the Givonim, and Klal Yisrael didn't protest, and it was considered as a sin, and there was a famine for 3 years, or the fact, like we said, that 20,000 soldiers were killed because of the merit of Shalom. Now, there's a perek in Divrei Hayamim. We've had many prakim that have paralleled the prakim in Shmuel Bet, but sometimes the wording is a little different. So, in fact, in Divrei Hayamim, it says Vayamod Satan al Yisrael. The Malach, the Satan, Vayaseh de David limnos Israel, and in a sense, caused David to sin, and therefore to cause Klal Yisrael to get punished because they participated somehow in the sin. Now, why is there anger now by HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Klal Yisrael? So, let me have the Sefer.
I would give you mine, except for the fact that.
Rashi says,
Oh,
look at Rashi. Vayosef af Hashem lachros lo yadati alma. Rashi says, I don't know. Look at the Radak. Vayosef af Hashem lo yadanu zechron lamaya. So Rashi and the Radak are stumped. What is the anger here? So we have to go to the Ramban in Sefer Bamidbar, Perek Tet Zayin, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Susie, in the library in the den, you see the Mikros Gedolos, bring the Bamidbar. So sometimes a Mefaresh will comment on something, there is no Ramban on Shmuel Bet. But we find the Ramban goes at length to discuss this issue. I want to read you where it's found. And we will get some insight into this episode. Susie, do you see it?
what? He says this. Talking. It's not here. Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself.
I'm sorry, I should have had the safer prepared. So when this is in Parshas Koirach, where it says, "Hibadlu mitocha eda azot, v'achalei otam karaga," that they're told to leave the area where Korach is, because he's going to destroy them. There, the Ramban goes in length that Klal Yisrael, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, they did not build the Beis Hamikdash, and they didn't even demand that it should be built. And this is what he says there. He quotes the pasuk we just read, "Vayosef af Hashem lachros b'Yisrael, vayosis is David b'hem." He quotes Rashi that says, "Lo yadati alma." The Ramban, in the year 1200 or 1300 or so, he had Rashi on Chumash and on Navi. And he quoted Rashi by saying, Rashi says, I don't know what the anger came from. So the Ramban says, Vani omer b'derech svara, shaya onesh al Yisrael b'tacher binyan beit ha'bechira. This punishment that is not going to befall Klal Yisrael is because they delayed in building the Beis Hamikdash. I'm reading Ramban. Shahaya aron holech me oel al oel keger ba'aretz. The Aron HaKodesh was traveling like a vagabond from place to place. The Shvatim didn't arouse themselves to say, let us build a house for Hashem. There is a pasuk in Dvarim, Yud Beis, pasuk Hey, Lishichno Tidrushu, Uvata Shama. That when you come into Eretz Yisrael, you shall find a place where you can be Dorish the Shechina. Ad shnitorer David ledavar miyamim rabim luzman aruch. You're talking about 400 years later, after Klal Yisrael, after the period of the Yoshua, the Zakanim, and the Shoftim. Finally, David HaMelech comes around, And we learned it in Shmuel Bet, Perek Zayin Pasuk Aleph. Vayi ki yashav hamelech beveito, v'Hashem einiach lo misaviv mikol oivav. David HaMelech is now at peace in his palace. There's no enemies. Vayomer HaMelech el Natan HaNavi, Re'ei na anochi yoshev beveit harazim, v'Aron Elokim yoshev b'toch ha'yiriyah. David HaMelech says to Natan HaNavi, I'm sitting in a palace, and the Aron is in a tent. V'hinei David mena'o Hashem yizbrach. In fact, Hashem prevents David HaMelech from himself building it. It says in Divrei Hayomim, Pasuk, Perek Chavez, Pasuk Ches, Ki damim rabim shafachta artza lefanai. You, David, have too much blood on your hands. And the Beis HaMikdash is a place of peace and kapara. V'nisacher ora binyan ad Melech Shlomo. In fact, now the building of the Beis HaMikdash is going to be delayed until Shlomo HaMelech rules. The ilu haya Yisrael chafetzim b'davar v'nitor bo mitchila. If Klal Yisrael had wanted to build the Beis HaMikdash, haya nasa b'mei echad ma'ashoftim or b'mei shol. This Ramban is a Moiradik Ramban because it's speaking to us. Maybe we should be demanding that the Beis HaMikdash be rebuilt. Or gam b'mei David. Ki im shifte Yisrael hayu misorim b'davar, lo yahu abonav al Yisraelim hayu abonav. If Yisrael would have taken it upon themselves to be misorer this feeling, it wouldn't have been called Beis David, like we say in a lot of tefillas, that it's built because of David HaMelech, but it was been built by Yisrael. Yes, Walter.
Yeah, but they had the Aaron at that time, and they had all the Kalim, and they had everything. The difference is today.
Bayis Sheni didn't have an Aaron. There was no Aaron in Bayis Sheni. There was no Luchos in Bayis Sheni. The Aaron was Nignaz. They had the Mokama Aaron. We know the Mokama Aaron too.
Yeah, but he's using the Ramban is using the Sfora that Aaron was going from place to place.
Yes.
And therefore, his Sfora is that way. So to translate it to today's terms, a little difficult, but it's okay.
I'm just saying it's a powerful Ramban. Aval kasher ha'am lo yishgichu, v'David hu ha'mashgiach v'hamitorer, v'hu asher echina kol hayahu ha'boneh. He's considered the builder.
But HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him he can't build it.
It's still, but since David is the one who was misorer, we're going to see in this. We're going to see in this parak, he's the one who bought the area.
Understand?
Right.
So whoever lays the foundation stone, whoever creates yes, in actuality, Shlomo Melech built it, but it's considered David's binyan.
Ernie, were Bnei Israel supposed to conquer the whole land before they built the Beis HaMikdash? Was that a prerequisite?
No, it's not a prerequisite. They remember we learned in Shoftim, they at the end of Yoshua, they had left a lot of areas unconquered. But that doesn't stop. They had three mitzvahs. Three mitzvahs were nitztavu Klal Yisrael when they came into Eretz Yisrael. Minui Melech. They had to appoint a Melech. Mechias Amalek, and then Binyan Beis HaMikdash. Those were the requisite three things. So they had Minui Melech, David. They had Mechias Amalek. Shaul started it, and David finished it. And then now they had now they could build the Beis HaMikdash. They didn't have to conquer every square centimeter of Eretz Canaan. That was not a requisite. Listen to the Ramban. The Ramban is more powerful. V'hu ish mishpat u'machzik b'midas hadin v'lo huchsher b'beis harachmin. David HaMelech is considered an ish mishpat. What did we see? He sat in Sanhedrin. He darshan. He did din, and he's a midas hadin person. And we need a midas harachmin person to build the Beis HaMikdash. V'alken nisachra binyan kol yimei David b'pshias Yisrael. And so therefore, because of the negligence of Klal Yisrael, it was delayed b'mei David. The Minchas Yehuda says part of the Charonav is going back to when they asked Shmuel HaMelech for a melech, Shmuel HaNavi for a melech. Because they didn't care, right? We just, Ellen referred to the 3 mitzvahs. So you see that they were very concerned about the Minui Melech. Remember, they said, we want a melech like all the other countries around us. But they weren't that concerned about Mechias HaMolek. And they weren't that concerned about Binyan. And that's the Kavod HaMakom. So because they weren't concerned of Kavod HaMakom, Binyan Beis HaMikdash, they were punished. Says the Medrash Shoichar Tov. Pani Rav Shimon ben Yochai. Mashal echad shayamakes b'no. Person was striking his son. V'lo haya yodea ben al ma'u muka. And the son has no reason why he's being struck. La'achar she'ikahu omer lo leich vaser davar ploni shetzivisi chayom. After the child was struck, the father tells him, go do the thing I demanded from you. Come, Veloish guy, and you didn't listen to me. So thus, kol oisan alafim shenaflu b'milcham b'mei David, lo naflu ala al shelo tavu binyan beis hamikdash. All the thousands that died in the milchamas of David, they died because they did not demand the building of the Beis Hamikdash. And it's a kavah chomer. Uma im elu shelo haya Beis Hamikdash b'neihem. They didn't have the Beis Hamikdash. V'lo nechrav b'meihem. Wasn't destroyed in their time. Nasilem kach, it was an anger. B'nen shual shelo tavu, so they were punished because they didn't demand it. Anu, we, shecharav b'yameinu. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed in our, not in our time, but in our, we know about it. Ve'inanu misablim alav. We don't have avelus enough for it. V'lo nivakish alav rachim alachas kama v'kama. And we're not asking rachmin that the Beis Hamikdash should be built. How much more so are we punished? That's one of the reasons why we have 3 davenings a day. We say right before Moedim, we daven it. V'tiknu bona Yerushalayim b'vracha b'fnei atzma b'tfila. And b'birchas hamazon we say bona Yerushalayim. So you see that from this medrash that one of the tightnesses was they didn't daven that the Beit HaMikdash should be built. And therefore that's a good thing that we are davening all the time that the Beit HaMikdash should be rebuilt. From the Ramban, it's not just that they didn't ask for it, that they didn't manage to build it. Yes, Bernie.
After David HaMelech passed away, and Shlomo HaMelech finished the Beit HaMikdash, and they were taking the Oren in, he wouldn't go through, wouldn't fit, even though he built it to the dimensions. Then he went and he called his father David from in the cemetery, prayed to him, and David went in the body, in his form, where the people could see, and he went there and he prayed in front of the Kalal Yisrael, and the Oren went in. So he goes to show you, not only did he buy the land, he also had a lot to do with the finished product to get the Oren in.
Very good.
So that's where they say, David Melech Yisrael Chai B'Kayom, the public, the Yidden saw David HaMelech with his body and clothes. So they say that's where it comes, that saying, David Melech Yisrael Chai B'Kayom. They saw him after he passed away. He came back to pray for the Oren to go in.
Okay, we're going to learn Mirza Hashem that limud. We have a shot that, in the Atar Resa, we say at Pasuk, Bavur David Avdecha, Al Tashev Pnei Meshichach. So that when they said that tefillah, that's when the gate opened and allowed the Oren to go in. That means whether we hold that David came back physically or the people, because remember, there were people all along that still never accepted David. They thought he was from Rus HaMoaviyah, and they hadn't accepted the psak of Moavi v'lo Moavi. So remember, Shimi ben Gera held that he was not right to be the king because he was a Moavite. Vahala, and that because of this he was not forgiven for the chet of Bathsheba. So when they said Bavur David Avdecha, and David is right, when they brought the Aron, we're going to see that there are midrashim that say that it didn't go in. After they said Bavur David Avdecha, it opened up and they went in. So again, further cementing what we've said tonight, that the binyan of the Beis Hamikdash is credited to David HaMelech. Now,
Always bothers
Yes.
me when people say, oh, I would never live in Israel. And I look at them and I'm thinking to myself, you daven every day, 3 times a day, that we should return to it. Don't say it like that. It's not right.
okay,
Bernie, you mentioned
Ellen is a
that,
strong Zionist. Yes, Bernie.
you mentioned that the sin of or the matter of David and Bathsheba. So one of the other reasons given is that the Bnei Israel did not complain or castigate the Melech David for his action, and actually the Me'am Lois has a very interesting connection. He says the pasuk starts by Yosef Af Hashem. I know you've mentioned this to me multiple times. Look at the Vav HaChibur. If you look at the last parak, you know that the last box mentions 37 warriors who were with David. The very last one is Uriah Hachiti. Uriah Hachiti is the very last one. So that's the connection in the Vav HaChibur to Vayosef Af Hashem, the sin of David and Bathsheba. Or not the sin, the action of David and Bathsheba.
Absolutely. We're gonna Mirza Hashem discuss it, because in Divrei Hayomim, there's also a list of the officers, and it's a much longer list. And it doesn't end by Uriah Hachiti. There's 17 other Gibori mentioned. And here in Shmuel Bet, where it wants to highlight what Bernie just said about the connection, that part of the anger of Hashem is because Klal Yisrael's blamed for not holding David to task for that. That's the connection with Uriah Hachiti. Shkoyach Bernie. Here's the question: who has the chiyuv to build Binyan Beis Hamikdash? It seems from this Ramban we just learned that if the Bnei Yisrael themselves would have requested to build it, they could have done it. So the Abarbanel, as always, says, "Ein mitzvahs binyan beis hamikdash el al hamelech, v'lo al Yisrael." There's some things are rummy on a king, and Abarbanel says this falls on government, on the king. You can't just individual people can't just stand up and build the Beis Hamikdash. So he doesn't understand why that would be a taina. He's arguing with the Ramban. The Radak seems to say the same thing in Perek Zayin Omara, where we talked in that pasuk where David HaMelech is requesting to build a Beis Hamikdash. The Radak there says very clearly that Binyan Beis Hamikdash is a chiyuv on the Melech himself. And however, the Sefer HaMitzvahs in the Rambam says, "Ukishististakel kolelo hamitzvahs shekodem zichram hinitimtza me'amitzvah shem choyv al hatzibur lo lechol ish ve'ish kegon binyan beis habachira ve'akamos melech ve'karsos zor shel melech l'nvar mashma b'chiv binyan beis habachira hu al klal kulo v'chein mashma b'chinuch." So it seems like the chinuch and the Rambam says it's a chiyuv on the klal, not just on the melech. So it's a machlokes rishonim.
Can I ask you a question, Ernie?
Please.
Whose chiyuv is it to organize the hierarchy of the Kohanim, to ascertain who will be the Kohen Godel, and to organize that service? If you have the Beis Hamikdash, you need to put that in place.
So the Sanhedrin, was located in the Lishka Hagazis. One of the offices of the Beis Hamikdash was called Lishkas Hagozis, and that's where the Sanhedrin sat. And we'll see from many Gemaras, the Sanhedrin was in charge of Minui Kohanim. They would inspect their yichus. Now, Kohanim Gedulim was vote by the Kohanim. We'll see, but who the Kohen was, they had to go through. First of all, also Sanhedrin had to teach the Kohanim how to do the avoda, etc., etc. So the Sanhedrin was very involved in the Kohanic service. And there was a Sanhedrin. We said Yoav was the head of the Sanhedrin, or Shimei ben Gera. So there is a Sanhedrin in the time of David. David HaMelech sat in the Sanhedrin. So the Sanhedrin that was appointed by Moshe Rabbeinu back already by the time of the Mishkan has been operating continuously, and the how the Beis Hamikdash would look, etc., would be in charge by Sanhedrin. But it had to be conducted by the Melech according to the way the Radak is learning. Yes, Walter?
Yeah, no. So basically, according to the Rambam, the right, so the building of the third Beis Hamikdash that will not necessarily be in the time of the Mashiach, because he says that the only time that there's a difference between when that will come is by Shibud Malchus. In other words, if there's no Shibud Malchus, so that's the time of that's what he paskins.
The Rambam says, "Ein bein Yemosa Mashiach to our time, ela Shibud Malchus." So that relates to the coming of the Mashiach. We don't think that when the Mashiach comes, Shmuel, it's a pshat in Shmuel, that the lamb will lie down with the lion. That means the nature won't. That's what's the pshat in that is that physical laws will stay. We have psukim in the Nevi'im that say a lion will not eat a lamb. That the laws of nature will change. That's not how Shmuel and the Rambam pass. They say that's going to be regular physics.
So, but he doesn't say anything about Minoi Melech or anything else. The Rambam doesn't say that.
That was Kasher Niskansu like Eretz Canaan initially. They were Nitzavu in those minyan, in those.
Right.
We already were there. Now, you know that there's other Chazal that say that the Beis Hamikdash Ashlish is going to come down from Shemayim, built already, out of fire. So, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can speak to Moshe Dayan. He gave back the keys. So you can ask him.
Now, let's continue. The Abarbanel says, Shenenshu Yisrael Shenotu Achrav Avshalom Umardu B'David. That the punishment that's about to come now is because the Klal Yisrael participated in Avshalom's rebellion against David. And also that they participated with Shaul when they struck the Givonim. And there were those in Yisrael that went after Sheva bin Bichri. We had another revolt that we just learned a few prakim ago. And this is now what Bernie said. The Das Kanim, Mibale HaToisves in Sefer Bamidbar, Perek Lamed Hey Lamed Aleph, says that this anger now of Hashem, Shayach Haranaf al Shenerag Uri Achiti, that when David HaMelech sent Batsheva's husband, Uri Achiti, to the front lines, he was killed. The Bezen Nicha Shemoyne B'Shmuel Shloisha Meshiba Geborim LeDavid, Uvedivra Yom Chashavu Tfei. Like we said, when we finished the last Perek, Chav Gimel, we finished with Uri Achiti. Kishigil Uri Ahivsik Ayinyan. Shaloimar Shechara Lo Yadei. Later on in Divrei Yomim, it goes on 17 more Giborim afterwards.
Ernie, I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask, you just talked about the Sanhedrin being a very intact organization. You would think that the Sanhedrin would be influential, when there's this dissension against David HaMelech and all the different issues. Where's the influence? You would think that the Sanhedrin would be an influencing factor.
So remember, Barbara, it seems that some of the Sanhedrin followed Avshalom.
So you're talking about a very corrupt organ then.
Well, remember, Avshalom was a great politician. We are underestimating who Avshalom was. He was a very charismatic person. And you remember we had that whole discussion where he would sit at the gate and convince people politically. He did a political revolution.
Party, who was a perfect target for him.
Well, say it again, Barbara.
Well, there's always a losing party for him to target,
And
when
David was the losing party.
it was always
David
a,
had to sneak out in the middle of the night out of Yerushalayim to save himself. We don't realize what the koyach of Avshalom was.
no, but the dissension here, I'm just wondering, does this stems all from Uriah Hachiti? I mean, this is constant dissension. Melech, who was really a compassionate leader, who was,
Avshalom was a tzaddik in the beginning when he was made melech. Hello?
Yeah. I mean, we went through this. Avshalom
I
was
think when
very
he
charismatic and drew people to him and was successful. Obviously, he was not in the plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, Barbara?
how was he a tzaddik? He killed a brother in revenge, rebelled against his father. I don't
At
see
the
him.
end, well, he said in the beginning, but at the end, of course, Avshalom had Gehenna opened up in front of him. In the end of Shalom, it was punished for all the bad things he did.
Ernie, were the Nevi'im, or in this case, God, was he on the Sanhedrin, or is there any way of knowing? And what happened if the Navi says something to the Melech? Can the Sanhedrin overrule it by whatever decree they come up with? What is, I don't understand the.
Like what? What do you mean?
No, you're talking about a Sanhedrin. What was the point of having a Sanhedrin? They were there to paskin halachas, I assume.
Yes.
Was it the Navi apart, or whether it was God or any future Nevi'im? Were they part of the Sanhedrin?
Not necessarily. Not if they were big Talmidei Chachamim, then they would be in the Sanhedrin, but not necessarily. Like Pinchas, we remember, was part of the Sanhedrin. Remember they had this whole debate: is it Amoni velo Amoni? That was a case that was brought to Sanhedrin, and then they paskined. Right, there was a vote, and then they eventually said yes, Moavi velo Moavit. So that's a halachic decision that was made by Sanhedrin.
Where was Urim Vetumim?
And they would go to or if the Sanhedrin didn't know how to paskin on certain things, they would go to the Urim Vetumim. Remember, David, should I go to war? Should I not go to war? So that necessarily is not a halachic decision for Sanhedrin. He needed guidance from Hashem. Since they had access to Hashem, we don't have that because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash and we don't have the Nevuah.
But that was the role of the Nevi'im, right? Did they?
No, or like Tzvi says, or there was an Urim V'Tumim thing that they would ask the Urim V'Tumim as well if Sanhedrin couldn't paskin a shaila, or if it was something that was not appropriate for Sanhedrin to paskin. Like, should we go to war or not?
Well, it's Navi's mother, when the Kohen Gadol thought she was a shikara.
Chana.
And she told him, you didn't read it right. He was looking at the Urim V'Tumim. And the way he read it, and the way she said it should be read.
Right, shikara. She's kshera.
Right.
She's
So
kshera. We learned that Chazal.
He,
Very good.
he told them that he didn't read it right. I mean,
Correct.
that's
Correct. Now, what is this business that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mesis David to sin? It's somehow HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the situation that David is going to create this sin. Everyone has bechira to do good or bad. What do you mean David, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mesis David? So here there's a maral in the Siva Soilon. The B'chol Mokom HaYetzer Mizgaber Ala Adam. We have a Yetzer Tov, we have a Yetzer Ra, and it's the nature for us to succumb to the Yetzer Hara. Lulei Hashem oizer letzadikim ulchom keneged hayetzer ulizgaber alav hu nichshal. The Maral says something very powerful. It says the nature is for people to listen to the Yetzer Hara, but a tzaddik, Hashem gives him the koach to fight against it. Like it says, Raglei Chasidav Yishmor Menachem. Here says the Maral, Ha'onesh Kan Hayashalo Siyaw HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lilchom Keneged HaYetzer Hara. Hashem took away whatever the power he gives to fight the Yetzer Hara, that was removed. And then now you follow, David HaMelech followed the natural inclination to follow the Yetzer Hara. Not only that, this Vayoses as David is now Midah Keneged Midah. We had in Shmuel Aleph, when Shaul was chasing David, David says, Im Hashem hesizcha Shaul bi yorach mincha. Maybe Hashem is the one who's pushing Shaul to chase me. And in Brachas, Daf Samach Beis Amud Beis, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar LeKadosh Baruch Hu, LeDavid, Maces Korosli? You, David, are calling me Hashem a Maces? I'm going to make you stumble in something that even a child in Cheder knows. Dichsiv. It says in Shmos, Ki sisa es rosh bnei Yisrael of kudehem, v'nasnu ish kofer nafsho l'Hashem b'vkol Yisam. That when you count Klal Yisrael, you don't count people. They give a machzis shekel, and you count the machzis shekel. But here, Vayoses is David lemor leich b'nei Yisrael b'Yehuda. Here, one of the sins that's going to be calculated is that David created a census, and that the census was going to be done by counting head by head. Not so. Eventually, David was caused to fail in something that even a kindergarten child knows.
But the punishment wasn't Bnei Israel, not on David.
So Tzvi asks very good on this Gemara. So David sinned that he used the word in Maces by Shaul. Where did Yisrael sin? The David with Bathsheba, he got punished. And the Yisrael, we just said, they got punished in Milchama, they died in Avshalom's battles. So, Yeshlomer, like what Bernie said, the Yisrael nenshu mishum shayolem limchos al avon David v'lo michu. That's over there. But here, by this Maces, where did they sin? So one of the chaverim of the Orach Chaim, he's called the Chafetz Hashem. That really the people who died in the Magefa, they died for their sins. It came through David. He was the Michshal that the people who died fell through him, through the Maces. And the Sforno says in Vayikra, the David, im hu nichshal b'avera zo, haysa be'ashmasa am mipnei shama yu choitin nizgaber koach hachet ad shegiya gam al hamelech. So he says something that when David sinned, there was a spirit of chet going around in Klal Yisrael. V'lachein nenash gam ha'am b'chet shel hamelech ki hem hayu hagormim. That's what the Chafetz Hashem and what the Sforno seems to say. So, if another shaila we have to address, if Klal Yisrael were deserving punishment because they didn't ask for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, why are they being punished now all of a sudden? Why weren't they punished initially? And why did they have to go through Hassas of David now? Hashem wanted to always give tshuva, time to do tshuva, that maybe David HaMelech is going to command a census. Maybe the people will stand up and not allow themselves to be counted. And if they're successful, it'll be a tshuva and they won't be punished.
I have a question about why that you said that Hashem takes away the Yetzer Hara from certain people.
No, he helps you fight the Yetzer Hara, tzaddikim. He gives you the
But-
ability to fight the Yetzer Hara. And by removing that ability to fight, you'll sin.
It's like a mitzvah goreres mitzvah. Avera goreres. So one promotes the other. Avera goreres avera.
The tzaddik is protected because there's a siyata d'shmaya for you to be able to fight your Yetzer Hara. But basically, the human nature is to follow our baser instincts. That's understandable. We're creatures, we're physical creatures.
Yes, but does a person have to, in order to become a tzaddik, do you have to have like an initial impetus to not want to do an aveira? And then Hashem helps you to
if you act like a tzaddik acts, Hashem will give you a special siyua to help you fight the Yetzer Hara, so you won't sin. That's what we've learned. And that for David, it was withdrawn. The siyua was withdrawn.
I hear, okay.
Then it says something very interesting. Why did David want to count? One of the things was Malchus wants to know how many people they have in their country. It's to give them a sort of an inflated ego. We have 10 million people. Says the Iyayam Anisayon Shel Minyan Sheherusha Ikarhu Koach Shel Ribuy Atzava. David HaMelech wanted to count how many soldiers he had, and it says we know the famous pasuk in Zechariah, Lo b'chayil v'lo b'koach ki im beruchi. Lefichach im yuchlu lisgaber v'lo l'nasis Yisrael. If the people would have not gone along with the census, so we see a lot of different approaches here. So from the Gemara in Brachos, it seems that the sin of David here, when he counted Klal Yisrael, is that he didn't use the Machzis HaShekel, because they said, even a child in the Cheder knew how to do that.
Same thing, Hashem made him forget.
So Rashi there in Kisisa says, "V'lo yeh b'hem neged." If you count, you'll have a magefa. Let's see why. Shehaminyan sholeit bo ayin hara, v'adavar bo aleihem. A magefa is a natural product, because if you count something, that's giving it an ayin hara. Bracha is in something that you don't count, right? Bracha is samui min ayin. You'll have bracha. You shouldn't count your money. You shouldn't count don't count. That leads to an ayin hara, says Rashi, and memela magefa will come. So the avera of David was that they counted without shkolim. How could David make such a mistake? Says the Ramban there. The Ramban also in the Parsha of Kisisa, by where they're dealing with the Machzis HaShekel, brings this story of David counting and leading to a magefa. So it says the Sover David, the mitzvah zu limnois b'shkolim lo haya l'shah v'lo l'doros. That which Moshe Rabbeinu was told then not to count by counting, but only use Machzis HaShekel. That's when Moshe Rabbeinu conducted the census. So it's only for that generation. But there is no permanent prohibition to count people. That's how the Ramban learns. Therefore, he felt you didn't have to take the Machzis HaShekel. Yet the Ramban somewhere else, in the beginning of Bamidbar, when they talk about the census there that Moshe conducts, he says, "Rachoku etzli shelo yizar David b'masha omer hakosuv v'lo yabam neget b'vkodosam." Here the Ramban all of a sudden takes a different tack, and he says, "I don't understand why David HaMelech was not more careful." He says this, only the Ramban could say this. V'imulai to David. Lama lo asa Yoav shkolim. David is going to command his chief of staff Yoav to conduct the census. Fine. So David HaMelech made a mistake. Why did Yoav not make shkolim? We're going to see. Last week we said that Tach Kamoini Zu Yoav. Some held that he was the head of the Sanhedrin. So, and we're going to see that Yoav does protest. Lama yivakesh zos Adoni, lama yilash mal Yisrael. So, in fact, why is Yoav protesting? Just use the shekel and there would be no sin. This is all the Ramban asking this. So says the Ramban, Kafi dati, haya ketzav alav bavur shamonam shalol tzorech. That now the Ramban is going that maybe they did use the shkolim. He's now saying, yeah, they used the shkolim, but you're not allowed just to conduct a census stamazoi. If you don't have a need for a census, you're not supposed to do a census. This is not a time that they're going to battle. David wanted to have this feeling that I'm a king over a large nation. Because we're going to see, we haven't read the pasuk yet. Yoav is going to say, Yosef Hashem lokecha lahem kahem v'chahem mea pa'amim. Hashem is going to give you bracha, thousands and thousands of times more people than you need. So you see, lama chafetz b'davar hazeh. You see, David's intent here was to make a census just to inflate his ego that he was ruling over a large nation. Barbara, did you want to say something?
No, it was me.
Oh, Ellen?
Yeah. I'm trying to form my question. How old was David at the time that this happened? Was this towards the end of his life?
Towards the end, yes.
So was he already suffering from his, he was cold, he had physical symptoms.
I think that's only, Ellen, that's only mamish near the end of his life. Because we'll see in the first parak of Malachim, it describes that. But that may have only been a short period of time. We'll see over there, when did that begin? But we have no indication that that's what's going on now. Why? What's the connection?
No, I was just thinking that maybe he was physically
he's got some dementia?
Yeah.
It's a good shot.
You're not allowed to count.
Okay.
I wanted to just say, wasn't he still in the midst of wars against enemies? I don't think his that was terminated. That he didn't finish his his fighting.
Yes. That's why the parak before Chav Gimel, the wars had ended. That's why all of a sudden we're given a list of who the various officers of David were. Right now, there is no immediate threat. Battle threat. That's what the Ramban says. And there's nothing going on that's causing them to make a census. Remember in Parshas, there's another census that goes on. Remember, there's a census at the beginning of Bamidbar before they do the Degolim. Then there's another census. Why? Because they're about to go to war against Midian. So they have to do another census. So there the census was for a purpose, prior to the building of the Mishkan, because they had to line up the people, they had to know what the Machane looked like. And then later on, when they went to battle Midian, they had to do another census. It's also after the 40 years, they had to do another census, who's left. And we see there's a big differences. So the Ramban is bringing now a new concept that doing a census, shalol tzorech, that was the chet.
Isn't it saying
that they use shkolim? Because the Ramban is puzzled. What do you mean? David didn't know about shkolim, and Yoav didn't know about shkolim. So they're saying, no, they use shkolim. And the sin here is not that they counted without shkolim, but rather that they counted shalol tzorech.
Does it say you could use pottery, shards of pottery? I don't know if they're signed or not. to count the
Yeah, you can use part, like we Bezek. If you remember, when Shaul was commanded to fight Amalek, they did a census and they used Bezek. They did count appropriately. There they didn't violate this thing. So it says in Bamidbar Rabbah, in the name of Rabbi Yezer, Kozman Shenimni Yisrael Tzorech Lo Chasru. When they were counted for a reason, they didn't lose. Shalol Tzorech Chasru. Ezuzman Nimni L'Tzorech B'mei Moshe U'V'Degolim U'V'Cholok Haaretz. Shalol Tzorech B'mei David. So the Medrash actually brings exactly what the Ramban says.
The Midrash also says that Yoav was against the census. And he tried to persuade David, but he was unable to do so.
Another Ramban, Ramban says, Ritzoni lomar mi ben 13 shana umala shehu ish. Moshe Rabbeinu, when they did the count there, it was be'esrim shana v'mala. And here, they counted everybody from 13 and above. Ki lo nizkar b'minyano mi ben 20 shana v'mala, aval omer lechu sipru es Yisrael, ve'edat misparam, v'zaya onsho, ki hakasuv lo yishal limnot rak mi ben 20 shana v'mala b'shkolim. That you have to count with shkolim. So even if they use shkolim, since David counted from 13 and above, that was the ched as well.
I lost any confidence. I think one midrash says here that he couldn't rely on the loyalty of the people, understandably based on all the experiences that he had gone through. So that was really, it wasn't a matter of his arrogance. I think it came from insecurity that he needed to have the reassurance of the loyalty of the people. So, that's understandable.
I think it's a good shot. I think it's a good, I think we're going to see some of what Barbara said as we learn more of the next psukim, what the Melech tells Yoav to do and what Yoav actually does with the count. Because we'll see, they weren't just commanded to count. They were commanded to find out what the capabilities of the individual people were. This guy has computer skills. This guy is strong. This guy is fast. We'll see. Anyways, that's the Hagdama. Today was just the Hagdama to this perek because it's an important perek. It's the last perek in Shmuel Beis. We'll pick up next week. I think we'll probably have another 2 weeks in this perek. We'll talk about a siyum. Mirz Hashem will start Malachim soon. Any other comments that anybody has? Questions? Oros. Okay. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you.
Everybody as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shavuot Tov.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was very nice.
Thank you.